right, kings and queens, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Haters Will Say podcast with your boy, Mark Harley, voted the buffest person on Instagram by the people, for the people. That's not me saying it. It's not a brag. It's just a fact. It's just democracy. If you have a problem with that, I guess you don't like democracy. So that's where I'm coming from. I hope you're having a great day. My kings and queens out there. So let's get into it. Haters Will Say, what is this? Well, it's a podcast where I'm hoping to talk about many things. Fitness, first and foremost, life via fitness, all the issues that come up, and how to improve yourself via things like fitness, but we're not going to limit ourselves to that. We are going to talk about whatever comes up in our lives and your lives. I'm going to have a lot of segments where you guys can send in things. You send up people who you think might be sauced up, and I'll take a look at those people and make my own determination. We're going to look at haters that you might have in your life. I'll look at haters in my life that I know I have, and make fun of them. So what's the name? Haters Will Say. Where does that come from? Well, if you know, you know. Right? If you've been following me on IG, you know what the dealio is. It's my favorite joke, not just because it makes me laugh, but because it makes you guys laugh, and it's become something that everybody has been able to participate in. People all the time commenting, haters will say, people messaging me, haters will say, a lot of people will message me like, I don't get it. Like, why are you obsessed with haters? I'm not. It's a joke. It's fun for everybody. It started off as a joke, and we're really referring to imaginary haters. Okay? These are abstract haters that, it's a joke on the idea that everything you do is being monitored and criticized by people who have some issue with you, right? In the abstract, right? Now, since I've been doing that joke, real haters have actually manifested. So I do actually have people on my page coming to my comments and my DMs and trying to tear me down. Mostly it's just hilarious to me because the attempts to bring me down and make fun of me are hilariously repetitive and full of grammatical errors and just generally indicative of sad, lonely people who are desperate for attention and jealous and unfulfilled in their lives and need a way to project that sadness out onto the world. And I think you've probably experienced that too with anybody. If you've met a hater or had a hater, these aren't really successful people who are doing great and super happy, and all their time is taken up by fun hobbies and their career and having sex and eating amazing food and traveling the world. These are people who need a little attention. So, we're going to give them some attention for at least some of this podcast, okay? Because I want everybody to be happy. I don't want to ignore my haters. They want attention, and sometimes I do reach out and give them exactly what they want, okay? Hater of the week, where each week we're going to be looking at a hater that could be someone hating on me, could be somebody hating on you and you send it in, could be a group of people hating on somebody. Who knows? From week to week, we're going to figure it out and do what's the most fun. Okay, so this week's hater is a guy named Adam Hilby, who came to me and said, I think you're a juiced up weirdo and a terrible actor / steroid dealer. Okay, that's like your opinion, man. My response, sometimes I have time to kind of break things down, and I wanted to do this example because this is sort of a template for how I think about a lot of haters. And this is actually like, somebody coming to me like, trying to dig a knife into me and tell me that my pursuit of acting, I'm just so bad at it. You just shouldn't even be doing it. And you also sell drugs, so you're doing something illegal, and you're also weird, and also you're, right? The list goes on and on. My response to that is, your willingness / desire to publicly express your distaste for a stranger by seeking them out to reply directly rather than, say, posting a story with your opinion on your own IG hints that you have some underlying issue with me that's deeper than what you're saying. You come off as bitter, resentful, and self-hating. I just wonder, just throwing this out there, if someone were to go to your page and peruse your posts and describe your appearance and general existence in factual but uncharitable terms, meaning we're not couching this, description with any sort of sugar-coated terminology. If they were to describe your appearance and general existence in factual but uncharitable terms, what kind of statements do you think those people might come up with? It's just a question. I didn't say anything negative. I didn't respond by going to his page and trying to take a stab at how he looks or what he's doing. So I say that, and then he goes, I think you're a big silly goose, and it's entertaining seeing you reply to your haters. I don't even hate you. I think you're probably an okay guy. Oh, thank you. Thank you for, he thinks I'm an okay guy. That's the validation I was looking for, right? So I respond to that. And of course, again, it's another typical thing where I call somebody out, break them down, then it's like, I'm not even a hater. I just wanted your attention. Now that I got it, I don't know what to do with it. I didn't realize you were going to actually comment. I didn't realize you were going to actually DM. Look, I don't have that many followers. I don't have that many comments. I can get back to you, okay? For now. If I get any bigger, because the haters keep giving me more and more attention, it's a double-edged sword, because you want to give me attention, but then also, man, what if I get more popular and I can't give you guys attention because I have so many people who are interacting with me with a positive way? I know it's a catch-22. It's difficult for you. Okay, so I said, LOL. Thank you for completing the task of making an ass out of yourself. Talks shit to get attention, can't endure the mildest scrutiny, changes his entire identity in response. So he ends up saying, after I challenged him, hey, what would somebody say if you, as I said before, what would happen if somebody perused your profile? He actually answered that for me. I applaud you, Adam Hilby. He said, I'm a big, fat, half-retarded disabled guy who is almost 40 and living with my mom. Do your best. Sometimes the haters just do my job for me. It's incredible. So I responded to that. See, that's the thing. I have no desire to roast a guy like you, but for some crazy reason, it's always guys like you who feel compelled to try and attack me personally. And then in some cases, back off after they get the attention they wanted and say, haha, I was just kidding. I don't actually feel that way. But I appreciate the interaction. It's just another confirmation that my haters is a group mainly populated by a certain demographic, and you might as well be the group's poster boy. But look, Adam, I appreciate the interaction. I appreciate you having the self-awareness to actually describe yourself in terms that other people might see and judge realistically when challenged. So you know what? I think we can be friends now. Okay, Adam?
Give it up for Adam.
Yeah. Hey, give it up for Adam. Let's congratulate you. You're the first hater, the inaugural hater of the week. You did it. And if you guys have any haters who are talking shit to you online that you think is funny or just ironic, given the kind of stuff they post, it's hard if they don't have a public profile, but if they do and they're talking shit and maybe they're living in a glass house throwing rocks, send that my way. We can use it as examples. I love turning my haters into content. It's the best. Haters are the gift that keeps on giving, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Never stop hating. All right. So, Saucy or Not is a segment I want to do hopefully weekly as much as possible. I'm going to look at people who you guys think are on steroids. I'm not talking about celebrities per se or doing a conventional natty or not where it's somebody who's in the news. I'm talking about your friends, family. Maybe you want to send me a picture so I can look at you and say, are you juicing or not? Based on limited information, based on your physique, based on maybe some before and after pictures. But, we've had enough of the natty or nots from celebrities. Everybody's doing those these days. So figured I'd take my own direction with a saucy or not. You can send me pics. If you have someone in mind right now, you can send me a pic and I'll analyze it every week. We'll pick somebody, okay? The first person I'm going to start off with is Chappelle Lacey. Now, recently, a lot of people have been saying, a lot of chatter online about Chappelle possibly being on steroids. And I'm coming into this agnostic. I don't know. I mean,
I'm one of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of chatter online right now about Chappelle making some progress that might be considered a little conspicuous, might be considered maybe not possible naturally, as far as just point A to point B? How'd you get from hitting 185 barely on bench to 315 for 5 within the span of a few months? I mean, I think if you just saw that on paper, you'd say something's not right.
Or even in person.
Yeah, even I mean, you know, we get to work out with him every single day, and sometimes I find myself scratching my head and going, is he hiding something from me? You know, he says he's natural, but everybody says they're natural, right? So I did a little research, did some digging, found some pictures of Chappelle in high school. We're going to throw that up on the screen, and just want you to take note of a few things. Look at Chappelle in high school, the age of 16, and he is very skinny. Let's just acknowledge that right now. How much did you weigh back then, Chappelle?
In that high school photo?
Yeah.
180, 190, something like that?
Yeah, 180, 190. So, you know, he's gained about, what, 60, 70 pounds of muscle since then, obviously, if you're 260, 250, right? It's a little bit suspicious. I'll have to say that right off the bat. A little suspicious right off the bat. So, looking at those pics, what we do see is actually some pretty broad shoulders, some good muscular development in his arms, in his chest. You see that this guy has a frame, right? Actually, okay. I'm starting to look at it. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm looking at him going, maybe there is a chance that he's okay. Here's the thing, Chappelle. Okay. I have to remember sometimes that you're an elite athlete, right? You're not just some guy coming off the street, no athletic experience whatsoever. We have ways to measure your athletic output. We've seen you jump, right? We've seen you do a backflip at your current weight. What that tells me is that you have a lot of fast twitch muscle fiber, right? You have a lot of muscle in general, but specifically, if you can do a backflip, you probably have enough leg muscle that's going to contribute to things like an ability to squat. If you got lower body muscle that's fast twitch, you probably have upper body muscle that's fast twitch. And people who have a disproportionate amount of fast twitch muscle fiber are able to put on muscle via weightlifting faster and put on more of it than other people who aren't blessed with those kinds of genetics. So, if you can't tell by now, I was bullshitting in the first part of this. I don't think Chappelle's on steroids, but I wanted to address the fact that people have been accusing him. And it's laughable to me, not only on a personality level. I'm trying not to keep that in consideration because I know Chappelle personally and know that he's super conservative about what he puts in his body. I mean, he freaks the fuck out having a cup of coffee sometimes, right? So that's one thing. But yes, you get fucked up by coffee. So not only do I know him on a personal level to be somebody who would be the last person to take some underground lab shit and inject it into their body, but certain people are able to put on muscle faster than others. And that's a hard truth because you want to think that, okay, I'm going to have the same results as everybody hitting the gym. You can hit the gym hard and do everything right and still have slower progress than some outliers. You may never get to the point where you bench 315 as a guy for 5 times. You may take steroids and never bench 315 5 times. I've seen it personally. Guys hop on juice. They think it's going to be the cure-all. They think it's going to be an overnight thing or whatever, or even long-term. But they simply lack the genetics, the hard work, the consistency. Their upper limit just isn't going to allow for certain kinds of development. They're never going to have the look. They're never going to have the strength. And you'd never know. You'd look at them past them because they don't look like much, and you wouldn't pin them as somebody who's probably on steroids, even though I know for a fact they are because they've shared that with me. So in this particular instance, I'm going to have to conclude that Chappelle is not, in fact, saucy. Never has been.
Bullshit.
Probably never will be.
What? That was a sneeze.
I know his detractors might remain. Some of those detractors are even in this room right now.
I'm with you every
That
day.
isn't, you know, and look,
I don't
to
know
be
what
honest,
you do in the morning.
to be honest, I don't know. The truth is, you can't tell, you know, you can't know 100%. You can't tell 100% ever. You'll never know. Even if you have a speculation, I think Chappelle's not on steroids, and I've laid out the reasons I think that he hasn't taken it, but ultimately, unless you got security cam footage of him 24/7 for his entire life, you'll never know. And all we have is speculation, but I'm
Is there a fucking
speculating.
drug test I could take?
Yes, but it wouldn't prove anything. Because you could be on testosterone suspension yesterday and it's already out of your system. So taking a test right now proves that you're not on steroids when you take them.
To be fair, Chappelle's scared to take protein powder.
Right.
So there's that.
It's,
Like, what the fuck is
it's
that
a big
stuff?
consideration. When people come to me like, hey man, is creatine dangerous? You're like, oh yeah, bless your heart. I remember when I was like that. So the final verdict is Chappelle has no sauce in his body. So send in those pics. Next week, we're going to do somebody new who I do not know, and I'll analyze it even more objectively than this one, okay?
Aunts, cousins, brother,
Yeah.
boyfriend.
Exactly. Somebody who you saw at the gym, you just snapped a picture of him secretly, and he doesn't know he's about to be analyzed by Mark Harley on the Haters Will Say podcast, but send him in, and we'll get to the bottom of it. All right, this episode is brought to us by your mom's tits. Let's be honest, sometimes it can be hard to fall asleep at night with all the stresses of modern life, and at some point, even over-the-counter sleep medications just don't cut it. Luckily, there's your mom's tits. They're big, they're mature, they smell nice, and are surprisingly firm for her age, and the fact that she breastfed between 5 and 7 children, depending on who you ask. In fact, your mom's tits are the only tits I would trust to fully relax me at night before bed by sucking on them after a long day at work. Your mom's tits, available at your mom's house. That's what they wrote. This segment, a lot of people have been asking me, I want to do because people do actually ask me a lot of questions. This started out as an inside joke with me and my friends, where we look at influencer or people who didn't have any following actually. They'd be like, a lot of people have been asking me what kind of water I like to drink. And it's like, nobody's been asking you shit. Stop that. Nobody cares. Maybe one person asked you and you're acting like hundreds of people are flooding your DMs with questions when everybody knows that's not the case. So in this case, it turns out, nobody gives a shit about any of my opinions on anything, like, politics or world events. But when it comes to working out, because I'm buff, people want to know my thoughts on various topics, weights and cardio and supplements and steroids. One thing that I've gotten repeatedly, especially from young people, is a question about whether or not they should do SARMs. If you're unfamiliar, SARMs are a relatively new classification of performance enhancers. It stands for selective androgen receptor modifier, okay? So it's something that bonds to the androgen receptor, enhances your performance potentially. There's also different substances that are in the category of SARMs, but don't really bind to any androgens. That can be used for like fat loss, like cardarine is an example of a SARM. It's in the SARMs family and is sold on SARMs websites, but it's a fat loss aid. It's not really a SARM in the true sense of doing something to your androgen receptor. For whatever reason, because these are still sort of a gray market, not black market, but like you can buy them online, but you have to click the box that says, I understand these are not for human consumption and I'm only going to be testing it out on my rat at home. Wink, you can buy these things online. And I think that's given people a false sense of, oh, it's different. It's legal. I can buy it online. And it's not like steroids. So how these guys who are 22 hit me up about taking SARMs and acting as if it's some sort of like supplement or middle ground to taking steroids. The truth is, it's not. If something has the potential to shut down your own HPTA axis, shut down your balls, and make you stop producing testosterone because your body detects androgens in your bloodstream, it's steroids, right? And I'm not saying you shouldn't then take them 100% of the time, but you need to ask yourself that real question. Am I taking SARMs because I want to feel like I'm not taking steroids? Or have I done the research into what these products can actually do to myself and have an exit strategy for what happens when I stop taking them and my body's no longer producing testosterone and I'm going to crash into a depression where I don't feel like getting out of bed or working out and I'm losing all my gains. So psychologically that's difficult and I'm going to break up with my girlfriend and stop going to work. And I say that jokingly, but also that type of shit can happen. So if you're 22 thinking I want to take an 8-week cycle of some shit to put on 10 pounds of muscle and have no exit strategy, no understanding what the long-term consequences are, thinking that I'm not taking steroids. It's something different. If that makes you feel good, I hate to burst your bubble, but it's just not the case. SARMs need to be classified like any steroid, and you can still research them. Each one has a different effect and a different strength, a different potency. There's stronger ones, there's milder ones, but even a mild one like Ostarine can shut you down. Connor Murphy, famous YouTube influencer in the fitness space, took Ostarine. He said he was natty and then recently went on this psychological breakdown, went to rehab and was doing crazy shit online. Part of that was he went from really buff to losing a bunch of muscle and gaining fat, and people were commenting on his physique and yada, yada. That was sort of the start of his downward spiral. He recently admitted that he had taken Ostarine, what people consider to be the most mild SARM, but it shut down his testosterone production and kicked off a journey for him that has led to psychological breakdown, loss of muscle, a dramatic transformation of his physique. You wouldn't necessarily expect that from, I just didn't take steroids, I took SARMs. I took the most mild SARM available. But those can have an impact on you that alter your hormones in a way that will lead to many other negative things. So if you're thinking about taking SARMs, I would ask yourself, why am I categorizing them differently than steroids if that's what you're doing? Why am I afraid to do steroids if that's what I really want to do? If I want to use an anabolic compound performance enhancer, why am I making that differentiation? And I think if you really reflect on that and do your research, you'll see that there is no distinction. And we shouldn't kid ourselves about it. And if you're 22, you shouldn't be doing shit anyway. Hit the gym naturally, max out your muscle, and then take it in a few years if you want. Okay? If you want. I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. Welcome to This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Gyms. In this segment, we're going to take a look at the most ridiculous elements of the fitness industry. We're going to look at gym fails and funny videos all across the land of people doing things that I think are hilarious and sometimes nefarious. Sometimes we're going to look at gym fail videos. Sometimes we're going to look at different individuals disseminating misinformation or bullshit that I think is harmful. Today is going to be one of those people, Dr. Joel Seedman. Dr. Joel Seedman is a very popular IG fitness guru, you might say, and he's somebody who has a big following and the academic credentials to sort of justify his existence as a guru in the fitness space. He has a PhD in kinesiology from the University of Georgia. He's got lots of followers online. But what I have an issue with is that he posts stuff like we're about to look at that is frankly absurd and ridiculous, and I think gives people the notion that fitness is all about novelty and that you can kind of have this endless innovation and deviate from the basics that are the tried and true movements that have worked for people as long as we've done resistance training. So let's take a look at some of these video clips. Okay, so here we have Dr. Joel Seedman doing RFPs, rapid functional pulse drills, which is essentially him just jerking off invisible dicks. Blah, 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 blah. So this is his idea of something that, during quarantine, you can do that instead of doing push-ups? I don't know. But it's basically flapping your arms around. This guy has a PhD in kinesiology, and he's flapping his arms around like a goddamn maniac. So now we hear him, have him doing it's not even a front rack, it's like a curl position, lunge with kettlebells hanging off the side, all this balance stuff that makes it seem like, people play sports during an earthquake or something like that. There's this excessive focus on, with these functional fitness gurus, everything has to be balanced on one leg. Let's have a bunch of weights hanging off that are shaking around on elastic bands. And it just doesn't mean now he's doing an RDL with two barbells on one leg, turning it into a row at the end, right? What is the purpose of that? Why not just do barbell rows? Why not just do RDLs on one leg? It's unnecessary. And why is he putting this online? For the sake of novelty, right? He has a front rack position. He's jumping out of a one-legged lunge. How is that superior to any of these component movements? Are we overloading the front rack position? He's doing a barbell curl against pins, I just don't get it. And everything has an added, we're doing a 90-degree squat. Why not just do a squat? Now he's doing an asymmetrical bench press with his feet up in the air. Are you working your abs? Are you working your chest? What is going on here? Now, all of this looks really flashy and innovative. I think the idea that he's using behind this is people look at this, people who are uninitiated into the world of fitness, look at his exercises and go, the complexity must mean something, right? If it's overly complex, if there's multiple things going on, it must be superior, right? That's just not the case. He has this approach of taking, for example, elite athletes, which we'll see like NFL players and former Olympians, and he has them do these exercises that look ridiculous. But, if you see a buff young dude who's in the NFL doing these movements, you might be tricked into thinking, well, that's an integral part of training as an elite athlete if I'm going to be going to the NFL. But the truth is, he picked up these people and attracted them with his flashy Instagram posts, and now they train with them. But there's no correlation between them training with him and being in the NFL. They were already in the NFL. They were already elite athletes. They were already in the Olympics. But by doing these exercises and filming them with elite athletes, the underlying assumption here that he's allowing people to have is, if you do this, you can become elite too. Or that, this guy was groomed to be in the NFL using this program, right? Even though everything, I don't know if there is a program because it all seems like random novelty and variation. So I think it's disingenuous because he's selling you on this idea that he has some sort of superior, more advanced, esoteric approach to fitness that if you're not doing 3 different movements and loaded with instability on one leg, that, then you're not doing enough. When the fact is, I'd love to see how he develops people through these basic movements like squats, deadlifts, bench, weighted dips, weighted pull-ups, Romanian deadlifts, things that actually can be measured. Because once you have these movements you add instability, you add the one leg, you add a front rack that's, a bicep curl, it's hard to measure. And that's where things get obscured. I think like any religious guru, who's always promising you something that's off in the future, right? Like the apocalypse is going to come. When that date comes and the apocalypse doesn't happen, they just adjust their estimate, right? And that's kind of what I see when I look at Joel Seedman is like, I see somebody who wants to avoid being measured or held accountable in any way. Show me someone who he took from a 5.0 to a 4.5 40-yard dash, or anybody who he's improved in any athletic context, right? People like this, these functional fitness gurus, they make it so that the bottleneck is balance or complexity, so that it's much harder to measure. Did you put 20 pounds on this lift? Did you show this person with a, front rack, one leg exploding squat? Did they show it, here's this guy starting at 90 pounds and now he's at 150. Isn't that great? No, it's only this one-off with whatever weight you can handle at that moment. And no programming, no progression, no progressive overload, no theory behind why these would be superior to mastering the basics. And the basics have tons of data behind them as things that, if you increase your clean and jerk and your squat and your snatch and your deadlift, your athletic performance will be improved. And that's measurable. But guys like this, I think, are dangerous because for people getting into the fitness world, and I get a lot of questions like, what should I start out doing? The advice is always master the basics. And I know people who have been in the fitness, world, or so, I know people who have been working out for years or a decade, and some of them still don't know how to bench press properly or deadlift properly or squat properly. Most people need to work on the basics and master those. And I count myself amongst those people. I'm still working on my squat. I'm still working on my bench and my deadlift form. I don't even need all that stuff. I've been working out for 20 years and I still don't need the stuff that Joel Seedman does. And he'll say, oh, well, this is just the icing on the cake. 80% of what I do is normal stuff. Well, then show that. Because otherwise, you're making it seem like, well, with my PhD and my big following and my big brain advanced understanding of how working out should really be done with elite athletes, you have to do this. By not showing any of the basics and even going so far as to, repeatedly justify not squatting down to parallel or below parallel. Again, to look like you lift more weight, to avoid scrutiny, to avoid progressive overload in the most difficult ranges of motion. To me, it's all a mirage, and it's all designed to make this person look like he's better than everyone else, and he, and only he, has the answers. And anybody in fitness telling you there's that one secret trick, and all you have to do is buy my program and listen to me and look at the stuff that I created, it's a big red flag that they're totally full of shit, and you should run for the hills. And so thank you, Joel. This is why we can't have nice gyms. Thank you so much for watching the inaugural episode of Haters Will Say. Had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. If you have any ridiculous clips you want to send me, or any screenshots of haters that you think I might find funny and the rest of the world might find funny, please send them in to me. Come back next week. We'll do it all again. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that stuff, so you can keep going with me, help that algorithm, and make sure you are notified every time a new episode or clip drops. Thanks again. Peace out.